what makes a person or a thing worthy of this, to be praised? Well, first of all, I guess, what is praise?
You like things that they do.
Yeah, we like things that they do. And we're talking about it in the sense of a religion, though. We probably mean it differently. Like, if you come in here and I praise you for being on time, I'm probably not falling down on my face and supplicating and holding onto your legs and praising you the way that you would a God. So we mean different things by that. In the case of a God, though, what do we mean by praising?
Respect.
Respect. Yeah, but how much so?
Like sacrificing.
So that's a big part of it, is that it's about sacrifice. It's about sacrifice. I don't mean to get too rudimentary, but we also have to understand what we mean by a religion and what it is that kind of constitutes a religion or even constitutes a God. When we think about a God, what do we mean? This isn't a trick question. What do we think of?
Technology.
What's that?
Creator.
A creator. And that seems to be the hallmark, the linchpin of a creator. Whatever it is that we're talking about as being our God, we're probably thinking about in terms of being a creator. This is why all the great religions begin with this. With, God, in the beginning, God creates the heavens and the earth. It's always that this is the thing that makes God God. Good. Okay, so now, why is it that we praise? I guess. So why is it that we praise a God?
They seem to be perfect.
They seem to be perfect. So they're kind of like a role model. They're something that we can gauge ourselves against. And by that becomes a really interesting idea, because if we think about God as having certain characteristics, so we think of God as being all-loving, all-knowing, all-powerful, and perfect in all these attributes. So here's something very interesting. In order for God to realize He's God, then, we have to exist. I'll say that again. In order for God to fully realize that He's God, we have to exist. In other words, there has to be something against which God can compare Himself. If you're 6 feet, are you tall? Asterisk. What's the average height in the United States? It's 5'9". Average height in Scandinavia, close to 6 feet. So if you're 6 feet in the United States, oh yeah, you're tall. If you're 6 feet in Scandinavia, you're about average. So you have to have something against which to compare yourself. When we're talking about, like last week, we were talking about who the greatest basketball player is of all time. Is it going to be LeBron? Is it going to be Michael Jordan? Well, you have to be able to compare them against somebody else. If there is only ever one person who ever played basketball, they're at the same time the best and the worst. We can't say that they're a perfect player. We have to have somebody else to compare them to. In order for God to fully realize the fact of perfection, there has to be an imperfect being to compare themselves to. And so God can compare Himself to us and say, oh, I'm perfect compared to that. And then we also, at the same time, we compare ourselves to that perfect model, the perfect character. How is it that we can model ourselves to imitate the behavior of the divine? And this is where you start getting like religious rules and things like that. This is where you start getting the idea of sin and perfect being and all that. So all that being the case now, we can look at God deserves respect because of the perfection. God deserves sacrifice. And this starts to become kind of an interesting question. Why do we sacrifice?
To keep that. Because they prove that they're worthy of whatever the God that gives them.
It's a real question, by the way. Because if you're somebody who is religious, I guess the question is, would you sacrifice and would you follow God even if it meant going to hell at the end of all of it? In other words, do we do it just because we want something out of it? Or do we do it because of this thing up here? It's just worthy to be praised. If you follow me, you'll still go to hell. Still follow. Or do you only follow because you're hoping to get something out of it? In which case we have there's a different kind of sense there of sacrifice. It's the sacrificing of something today to get something better tomorrow, which is a very sophisticated, difficult concept. Again, your cat doesn't sacrifice food today to save some for tomorrow. We're pretty much the only animal that does this. That we're able to sacrifice and put something else off, or even to destroy something completely, in hopes that will somehow lead to a better circumstance later. Okay, so now, take all of that's going on, all of this theology that's going on, and now we can apply it to this person who's up here. If God is God, then that means we don't need to put him on a pedestal. He's already there. All that we can do is recognize it or fail to recognize it. But he's on the pedestal no matter what. In the case of what Borges is talking about here, we're creating a religion. We're making this happen. And we take this person and we create this. So we look at what God is. God is all-knowing, all-loving, all-powerful. Fine. So what is this person who we've put up here? What are their characteristics? So God has certain characteristics. He's all-knowing, all-loving, all-powerful. That's what makes him God. What characteristics does this person have here such that we've put them on this pedestal? My girlfriend is all-powerful? All-knowing? Don't tell me she's all-knowing, dude. That means she knows my passwords.
Like our love for them makes us put on the pedestal.
What's that?
Our love for them.
Oh. Okay, so what characteristics do they have such that we deserve? So maybe they're pretty. Okay. So as long as they don't get old, we're okay. What else?
Smart.
Smart, rich.
Their abilities.
Such as what?
Like for instance, like the basketball stars, like the abilities.
So she
Maybe
can dunk.
sports and
She can dunk. Whatever it is this all? What else? Come on, there's something else that I hope that she is anyway, or he is anyway.
Karen.
Caring, yeah. We're missing a really important one, by the way. Hopefully. Oh, maybe it's not important. Yeah, loyal. Thank you. Yeah. So whatever these characteristics are. Now, any of you know somebody who's in a relationship, and you look at the person that they're with, and you're like, huh? Why are they, huh? Or you're like, they're like, oh my, they're so smart, and you're like, are they though? You know? I mean, Rich, they need a dunk, but they can't, right? Caring, you don't want to get the weird look on this one either. Oh, but they're so loyal. The monkey meme. Now, are they loyal? I don't know. You ever had a conversation with somebody in a relationship and say, so we need to talk about what it is for us to be in love here, so you have to be loyal. You feel the need you have to tell someone that? No, we kind of understand the rules of it. If we sit down, we're going to play blackjack. You're going to play 21. Maybe if this is the first time you've ever played the game, I might have to explain the rules to you. But by and large, if we sit down to play, I already know the rules, you already know the rules, so we can make this thing work. If we're going to play Monopoly, I don't know if any of us sit there and we read the rules as we're playing. We just kind of play the game. We all know how to play. And if we don't know how to play, then we learn as we go. But in the case of a relationship, we kind of begin with the idea that we all understand what the rules of the relationship are. So now, I guess the question becomes, do we know what the rules of the relationship are? Can you have exes on your social media?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there we go. See, we have big old yes from the guys. Yeah. I mean, she can't, but I can. Then we have the no from the girls. So maybe, I don't know. Do you exchange passwords?
No.
I actually know people do it. Whenever I see like an Instagram account with two people on the same account, you know what happened there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're sharing an account. You know what happened there. Who knows what these are? Are you allowed to like pictures of the other sex?
Yeah.
If they're famous, yeah.
If they're famous. So asterisk, if famous. Now, funny thing will happen there. It'll be like, well, if they're famous, well, I mean, she's famous in National City. What do you mean by famous? Yeah, so you start to see that. We start to have these little, almost like negotiations within a relationship about what's okay and what's not okay. I have a rule with my girl, which is you can't post a picture that you'd be pissed off if I liked it from somebody else.
Oh, that's mine.
So if you got pissed at me for liking a bikini picture, that means you can't post a bikini picture. Yeah, and then, it's not really an issue with me because I don't wear bikinis, but you get the idea. We have those same kind of rules back and forth, but But that took some talking and some negotiation for that to happen. And so now we understand what we mean by this. But before you had that conversation, maybe the person belongs on that pedestal. Maybe. Or maybe you just see them this way. And I wonder if any of you have had that experience so far where you've maybe been in a relationship and then it didn't work out, and then later on you go through and you see old pictures and things and you're like, what was I thinking? That person is not attractive, because you see them differently now. Or you realize afterwards, they weren't so caring. But I wonder if the person never really was very attractive or smart or caring. Or maybe they could dunk, but I mean, they lowered the rim, Or they weren't particularly, in other words, they never really claimed to be these things. They never said that they were these things. It was us who said, you know what, I'm going to help you up on top of that pedestal, but I don't belong up here. Yeah, but I'm going to put you there. Why? Because you said at the beginning, my love made you this way. It's the love that you have for a person that you see them this way. So again, it's not coming from outside the person. It's the same, the monster's not in the closet. It's whatever it is that you're projecting into the closet, and you project into people all the time. And so when we do that, we create a religion, as it were. We worship this person by putting them on this pedestal. We give them respect. And in certain key ways, we do sacrifice. We sacrifice those friendships with other people, maybe. You can't be friends with your exes. We sacrifice the ability to like certain pictures on Instagram. We sacrifice our time, because every minute you spend with them, and you're investing in them, you're not investing in finding somebody else. And so you're sacrificing quite a bit. We just don't think of it this way. Now, what do you get out of it? At the end of the relationship, if things don't work out, you could walk away and go, oh my gosh, I wasted how much time of my life now with this person? Maybe you wasted it. Or maybe you actually grew from it and it was more of an investment. So you did get something out of it. And hopefully you end up at least wiser for it. Yeah.
I kind of feel like it kind of goes in with the don't follow your passion. I like we fixate on that thing so much that we miss opportunities for everything else.
Exactly. It's almost like it's planned. It's almost like I planned this to go along with that article. Yeah. Sometimes this happens. This happens all the time. Exactly. Oftentimes, if you want to know what's going on in the journal entry, take a look at what we're reading in class, and that's absolutely it. That the more you fixate on this one God, the more you get myopic is the word, I guess. Tunnel vision. Yeah, you get tunnel vision, don't it? This is the same is true about a religion. Some people, not even some people, most people who follow a religion, they get very tunnel vision on that one religion, and the ability to get them off of that one religion is very difficult. They'll stick to it no matter what. It's almost easier to get a person who believes in a religion to completely reject the idea of God altogether and become an atheist than it is to get them to convert to a different religion. And so maybe, and then that's what has to happen sometimes. Oh my gosh, this person is not what I thought they were. And so, because that person wasn't pretty or smart or caring or loyal, therefore men ain't shit, and now you reject all men, you essentially become like an atheist in terms of relationships. Until the next one comes along and you realize, oh wow, nothing gets you on the last one like the next one. Now then you create another false god in that same sense.
So what is tape?
There you go. So your parents ask you, so what did you learn in school today? Oh, Mom, nothing gets you the last one like the next one. Good. Like I said, maybe the school board's right. Maybe I'm a bad influence. But you can replace it with either with nothing, or you can move from one to the next. But if you don't have closure, of course, then you're just going to kind of perpetuate these same kind of problems. Well, all I'm saying is that sometimes people don't claim to be things at all. We project into them what we want them to be, and then when they don't live up to that, we're disappointed in them. I mean, you see this all the time. I'm sure some of you know people. Like, I wonder if any of you are these people. You're either the artist or you're the project. You know what I mean? Like someone looks at you like, oh, I can fix them. Okay, they're not this yet, but I can make them that. And maybe they're not this yet, but you know what? With enough love, they can become that. And they can become, I'm going to change the way they dress, I'm going to teach them how to dunk, whatever. And now that person isn't the person who they actually are. They're a project that it's like they're a Build-A-Bear. You're trying to make them into something that they're not. And then maybe even if it's not fair to you, because of course now you're not spending time finding the person who could fit the bill, and you probably shouldn't be looking for them anyway. They're probably just going to show up, because the harder you try to find that person, the more of this projection you're going to do into people. You start to look at people almost sideways like, yeah, maybe. You know, I can see the vision, versus seeing what the person actually is. And it's also not fair to that person because they can never live up to those ideals of being a God. And I was like, I never claimed to be these things, but you held me up to that standard. So it's not fair to anybody who's involved in that. And so then, of course, it gets to this real question, so then why do we do it? And it's because we have, as humans, we have a fundamental need to worship something. It doesn't have, you might say like, oh, I'm not religious at all. Give me a few minutes to talk to you. But I can find the thing that you worship. If you're being honest, and if I'm being honest, back and forth, we can find the thing that you've elevated to this status right here. That doesn't mean it deserves to be there. Like, for example, maybe you've put money on top of a pedestal as a god, and that's the thing that you worship. That's the thing that you respect and that you sacrifice for. Or maybe it's a person. Or maybe, I won't talk about this now because we'll be here for 3 hours if I do, ideologies, especially. This is, I would suggest to you, is probably for many people, the gods of today are our ideologies, the things that we follow and at least we profess to believe in. So, questions?